You open the website, it leads to this welcome screen. So there is nothing here. It just takes in an email and just like logs you in. There is no there is no authentication link to it right now. It's just a way to identify a user. That's it. And once you log into that, you'll see this interface here. So it will show you that you're using a GPT-4o Mini right now. You can switch it to GPT-4 or 4o Mini, whichever you want to. And then you can chat it as you would do with ChatGPT. The other feature that I did was an interrupt feature. So if you want to stop the process in between, you can do that, and the reset button here. Other than that, there is also another feature, which is you could start the responses or data here. And when you go to the start page, you can see when the message was started, was it a bot message or a user message that was started. So this was what I did over the last weekend. I thought of not sharing this project for a very long time, but then ChatGPT asked me to actually share it. That's why I'm sharing it. And this project everything is hosted up in Railway, a hosting platform. So I have a Postgres database and the AI chat app linked here. So let me go through the code and explain what I did and how it's set up. So like I said, it's everything is based off Next.js 15. So this is also the first time that I am using this framework. That's the tech stack that I used here. And for database, I used a Postgres with Prisma as the ORM. I started with the database schema design first. So I wanted a chat which is identified by a user ID. So to create a user, I use the email ID. So like I said, it's not linked to any authentication mechanism right now, but it's just a email field that's there and it's unique. Just to link everything together, I thought I'll add the user authentication and authorization later if I want to. So just to link all the chats and all the messages, I created a user table here with a unique field of email. And to link a chat to user, I put the user ID on the chat table. And to link a message with a chat, I put the chat ID in the message table. So in the message table, I also have the LLM that was used to create the chat, whether it's an AI who is sending the message or whether it's a user who is sending the message. To identify that, I've put an enum here, as well as the standard things. What was the created at? What's the message status? Like, is it gone through or did someone interrupt it? And I also keep the start table for the starring functionality and have the association done for all the tables so that, you can get all the chats maybe based on the user ID and things like that. So that was the basic, database table setup that I've done. Coming to the backend side. So like I said, this is the first time that I was using Next.js. So the server components is something that I had not worked with. And this was the first time that I was thinking of working on it. But I didn't take that route because I thought since it's a chat app, which is which changes the UI on every message. So instead of server rendering that, I should just send the data as such using an API and then render it on the screen instead of creating it as a server component. So that was my thinking behind it. And that's why I went with the API route here. It's just API routes like standard GET and POST API routes. So for chat, the most important, which is this chat functionality, right? Where you can actually send the message and receive the messages. So for that functionality, what I did was I created a post request on chat. So every chat that I send here is basically a post request to the chat endpoint. And what you send here is a message. The chat ID is empty, so it will create a new chat. And the response you get is how you stream, right? So I didn't want a static response, but I wanted to stream the response as I get from the OpenAI package. So to do that, what I did was that I set an event stream, set this stream as like a readable stream. And for every stream that was coming in from the OpenAI package, I identified that if it was a first chunk that was being sent out, because for the first chunk there were a few additional details that was needed. But if it was not the first chunk, just send back as you would normally do. That is, the writer would write it and after encoding the data. And so that was how it is being sent out, back to the front end. So if you want to see the chat completion, so it is nothing but a generator function, which actually is based on a OpenAI provider, because the two models that I've set up right now is OpenAI based and not any other providers. So if I want to, I can add other providers also. So that's why I've specifically gone with this type of implementation, where I can add another condition to see if what the provider of the model is, and then choose the way that the stream would work for that particular use case. But for this one, it's a simple stream that comes from the OpenAI chat completions API, and they just stream it back to the user using the post API itself. So there are some other things also that's happening in this post API. So one is that there is a signal that is being listened to. When there is a signal that, okay, the request is to be aborted, Prisma will I'll update the database that the content was interrupted, and I'll stop the chat completion itself, so that, more tokens are not generated. And you send back the details that with that last interrupted data. So the front end also knows that, okay, the stream has ended now. So that's how it is done right now. And the other things are pretty straightforward, right? Where the starring and the chat messages are done. Basically, get the user ID and get all the messages by the user ID to show which are the messages that was start in the start page. So that's pretty straightforward. So that's on the backend side. And on the front end side, it's also pretty straightforward. So I have a home page here, which is from a component. So if I open the components here, pages, home page. Okay. So here, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. You have the UI that's built with the Tailwind, which comes out of the box for Next.js 15. And instead of, like I said, instead of using the server components, I went with the API approach. So whenever the send message is done, you set an abort controller and start the message stream. So once that is there, you process the stream and show the data in the chat for that particular user. That's on the implementation part for the code. For the hosting part, I've used a Docker file to host the Next.js application. So this comes by default with the Next.js framework with the Docker implementation here. There are a few changes that I've done here. One is addition of, the OpenAI API key and the database URL, so that during the build process, the code has access to all these all these environment variables. So while running it locally, you can add a .env file here on the root and have it run, and that will work fine. But while hosting it, you need to have it dynamically saved on somewhere, right? So that's why I've added it as an argument in the Docker file. And what I've done here in Railway is that I've set up a Postgres container. You can, database here itself. So that will add a Postgres database here. And to host this, the front end part, what I've done is basically add my GitHub repo here and added this repo, which is hosting that particular case. And the build file actually runs automatically once the Docker file is identified. I just had to environment variables in the service as a service variable here, and I've referenced the database URL from the Postgres public URL. So once that linking was done and the build was completed, this chat app was publicly available. So yesterday I completed the Docker part. So it's been running for the last 24 hours. It cost like 4 cents or something. But yeah, that's the whole application that I built last weekend. And the code is available in GitHub, and the link is available right below the like button. If you found this interesting, do let me know. And if you want me to build more such stuff, let me know. Maybe I can build few things. So thank you for watching, and see you guys in the next one.